Hi everyone, today I'm going to be doing a top-up lesson for lesson 1 on networking for the Cybercore Skills course, but this one's going to be a little bit different. I know we've concentrated heavily on Cisco and a lot of the commands, but a lot of theory on networking. Just to bring into focus, there are different vendors. Later video I will be doing Juniper, but for this one I want to cover off a free open source routing and firewall brand and vendor, which is VyOS. VyOS is more of a virtual platform, so it's open source, so it's code as well as freely available. There are subscriptions you can pay for the more enterprise level, but for the lower end of having a lot of the technology available to us, it is open source. I'll be showing you the website to download it in a minute. It's a virtual router and firewall, contains a lot of the technologies and a lot of the protocols that we've already covered in the theory, so like OSPF and DHCP we're going to be covering in this video. It's based on Debian. That's the current version. It was based on other previous versions of Linux, but they've stuck with a Debian distro for the current version. So some of the commands that we use within Linux and that we're going to see in future lessons, or that you might be familiar with, do work on that operating system and do work on the router itself. Alternatives to VyOS, if you are looking for a digital solution, might be pfSense if you're looking for more of a firewall configuration. But let's give it a go. So what we're going to be doing is configuring a network, configuring effectively this LAN B VyOS. I've already set this network up with 2 Kali boxes either side. I've set up LAN A, so we can test what we've got already. I'll be showing you just to prove what we've got. And there's a little bit more detail in this diagram than probably I'd normally provide, but basically we've already covered virtualization a little bit and some things about logical switches and digital networking. So on LAN A, for example, I've got LAN A Kali, which is 192.168.100.1/24 network. Its default gateway 100.254. So 100.254 it's the Ethernet 0 on this VyOS here. And this virtual switch, VMnet 9, is connecting the Kali box and the VyOS on one Ethernet, so Ethernet 0 on the VyOS. Ethernet 1, so it's got 2 interfaces. VyOS can have as many interfaces as you want to apply to them. So on Ethernet 1, I've got the WAN link, which is going over VMnet 10. I've got it on 25.25.25.1. I just wanted to go for a public IP address and gone for a /30. So using that point-to-point network, we could have used the same IP address scheme throughout and done VLSM, but this is what I've sort of planned in the meantime anyway. So I've got 25.25.25.1 on one end, 25.25.25.2 on the other. So the WAN links are going on VMnet 10. So that's just the connection between 2 VyOSes. So I'm connecting Ethernet 1 on LAN A VyOS and LAN B VyOS, which is what we're going to be configuring, the more sort of peachy colour. So we've got to configure Ethernet 2 as 25.25.25.2/30, which obviously we're talking about CIDRs and slash notation rather than subnet masks because we're now on that level. And then Ethernet 3 on the VyOS for LAN B or Bravo is going to be 192.168.200.254. So that's going to be the default gateway for LAN B. So 2 Kali boxes either side. Kali box on LAN B 192.168.200.1/24, using that full Class C range. And its default gateway is obviously, as we can see there, Ethernet 3 on VyOS LAN B. So that's what we're going to be configuring, LAN B. We're going to set up the interfaces. We're going to set up a host name. We're going to make sure it's on the actual correct virtual network, so on the 11 and the 10, and also within that we're going to set up OSPF for the WAN network over here. So this is already set up, and I'll be showing us that the 2 Kali boxes. They've already got their IP addresses. This Kali box can ping all the way up to its default gateway. This VyOS can ping this host and can ping this IP address, but it can't ping the other side. Because we've not assigned it yet. I have done a pre-experiment just to make sure it all works and each end can contact each other, but effectively using routing protocol OSPF to go between the two, and we've already covered that in the previous layer 3 networking video. Brilliant. So I'm just going to show us, before we step into VyOS, just some resources that I'm going to be using and that I've used. So websites, all these links are going to be provided in the course notes anyway, and on the GitHub page, as well as sort of other platforms that I'm pushing out on. So we're downloading it straight off the VyOS.net website. I've used the latest ISO, and that downloads, and we can also check the hash against that. And then we're downloading it from there. Some other useful VyOS cheat sheets. If you just Google VyOS cheat sheets, I've used this one, this master VyOS cheat sheet. Effectively, there's cheat sheets for anything you want to download, even Cisco cheat sheets if we don't want to use the official documents. But it tells us a lot here. It doesn't tell us everything. And then at the bottom of here, we can go onto user guides and other repos, for example. So and additionally, we're currently using version 1.4 of VyOS. If you're using previous versions, so we're on Sagita, that's the one. If you're using previous versions, they'll have different names, so all the commands might be slightly different. So this is current as of October 22. So that's where we're going. I'm going to be so we've already gone through a lot of the commands for Cisco, so I might as well use the course notes that I'm providing anyway. So as a part of the course, I'm going to have lesson 1 networking, and at the bottom of networking, I'm going to have the VyOS command. So that's what I'm actually going to be using to configure VyOS LAN B effectively. Just go through top to bottom and work my way through there. So the default username passwords for VyOS when you download the ISO is VyOS and VyOS. Very secure, but you can change that at a later date. I'll show you how to add a user in, which actually I've not added notes in, so it's good to add to our notes as we're going through. And then we've got to install. We've added the ISO in, so I've created the VyOS already. It's in a sort of created state, but it's not in a saved state. So we're running totally off the ISO at the minute. We're not running off of the stored hard drive. So we've got to install the operating system onto our virtual machine. And to do that, we literally type the word install image. And we do that before we even sort of hit the configure command. So like conft, for example, configure terminal to enter global configuration mode. That's what happens within VyOS. So that's to start configuring, really. Then we're going to work our way through commands. So we're going to set up interfaces, internal routing protocol, and set up DHCP so it actually works for our LAN. We're going to get the Kali box to ask for the IP address, and then there we go. So I'm just going to take you to our VM workstation first. So I've got, let's move it in order. So I've got my Kali box here, the first one. Let's see if it makes it get bigger. Kali box, and then if I just do view, should have VM tools installed, auto size. There we go. So we can sort of see it a bit better now. If I do IPA, which is probably the new command instead of doing IF config on Linux, we can see here 192.168.1.100.1, and I'm just going to go back to our diagram. So 192.168.1.1/24/24 subnet mask, if you're thinking, is 255.255.255.0. If you're struggling with that, I suggest go back and rewatch some of the subnetting videos that we've covered off. Cool. And our default gateway is set. It should be on here. No, that's the broadcast address. Anyway, it is on there. That's what I have set. So that's what we're using there, and the loopback above is just the local host. So that was to test the NIC if we needed to. Good stuff. We've got our LAN VyOS A, which I previously set up and committed and saved. So if I go, some of the commands that we can run through, I'll show system first. So we can sort of see what we're working with. Configuration management, we can have FTP. we've got our host name, which is VyOS up here. We'll be changing that. Have you noticed when I click into VyOS, my mouse disappears and I'm trying to click, but it's all keyboard based, it's all CLI. Then we can have NTP, which is your network time protocol. We can set that up. Obviously 3 is redundant. There's quite a bit to that. Syslog, so we can have updated, so if a port goes down or a port goes up, we can send messages to a central syslog server or SNMP server. Cool. And then I'm just going to go show, and then show question mark. So I'm just going to go show interfaces, and from here we can see I've already got 192 on Ethernet 0, 192.168.100.254/24, 25.25.25.1 as the WAN link /30, so we're not lying. So we've already got the so this is this IP address and this one, so we're up to this stage now, which is good. And show protocol, so show and protocols, you can tab just like Cisco, it's dead good. Area 0, 192.168.100.0/24 or 25.25.25.0/30. With routing protocols, with dynamic routing protocols rather than static, you always advertise what you've got rather than telling it how to get there. Then the routing protocols effectively will speak to each other using hellos and keep alive times and a lot more complex things behind. Obviously, I've covered that off in routing protocols and layer 3. And area 0 is the backbone area for OSPF. You can have other areas, area 1, but you always require area 0 to ensure that that's the backbone. If you start using other areas, that's known as multi-area OSPF, and you don't get effectively the same advertisement. So OSPF doesn't need to know about its neighbour as such, it needs to know more about everything that's going on, and you've got what known as the designated router. So at the minute, I'm made myself a designated router because at the minute it's the only OSPF router, and we're going to be setting up, this is LAN A, we're going to be setting up LAN B VyOS. So let's go for it. So just quickly show you the Kali box. So Kali LAN B, here we go. So at the minute it's got a static IP address. You can see some previous testing that I've done. So if I just go IPA, I've got 192.168.200.1, and it's a /24, so you can see its broadcast address 255, and its default gateway is 254. So that's what we need to set up on the LAN. Just to confirm which virtual network this is sitting on, or which virtual switch, if we go VM settings quickly, and I can see this is sat on VMnet 11. So if I just show you VMnet 11, there we go. So I need to have Ethernet 3, VMnet 11, Ethernet 2, VMnet 10 to connect on the WAN. So we're going to jump on the VyOS, set up our logical switches first, and then set the IP addressing using our config. Brill. So I can close that. So that's our Kali box. Back to our LAN B. I've not even powered it on yet. So let's see what state it's in. It should be. So this is you might notice it says LAN B blank. It should do. Hold on, have I loaded up the wrong one? I'm just going to double check. So I'd rather start with the correct one. So here's my folders here, LAN B blank. And ignore it saying LAN A, I've copied the actual source folder, but it is definitely LAN B. Cool. Here we go. So that was definitely LAN B blank. Moved it or copied it. If you say you've moved it, it will remain with the MAC addresses, the same MAC address as the original build. And of course, because we do play with LAN, layer 2 addressing and MAC addressing, we better say copy it, so it will change the MAC addresses for us. Then we've got KMS. Let's see what the status of this is. So I might have already installed the operating system on this one. So this is just going through a boot at the minute. It's quite good to see. I'm not going to talk through each LAN, each case, but it does have a lot more tools, commands, and features, and that we stand used to, or that we've got available to us that we're not going to touch so much in this video. But it's just a simple introduction to VyOS, really. Cool. And it looks like it might already be installed. So if I go VyOS login, VyOS password, your changes in this banner, set system banner, this is free, cool. So normally if we haven't installed it already, it would come up with a warning saying any changes you get are temporary because of this. So if I do install image, you have already tried this, already installed the image, cool. So we've already installed the image from an ISO, so I'm just going to make sure, whereas my mouse has disappeared, if I press Control Alt, I've come out of that. I'm just going to make sure my CD DVD is disconnected. Yes, so that's me now running solely on the VM. Cool. Removed, so I've disconnected the CD DVD, and we've got two adapters. I'm just going to go to settings, and look, they're both natted, so actually they can reach the real world. It's probably already got a couple of IP addresses, so if I, as I said, there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can use the VyOS way of looking at interfaces, or we can use the Linux or the Debian distro. So if I do IPA, it's a little bit naughty, a little bit cheeky, but it's still got some of the original Linux-based commands. So things like ls might work. So if we've got a file distribution, we can see. So if we saved it, we should be able to see the sort of saved file here. So it's very similar to Linux. So it's got username, host name, and that tilde is even saying we're sort of in our home directory, but that's to come. So we're in here, right? So IPA, we haven't got any IP addresses on there, but if I do show interfaces, and it shows a little bit different from how we had it before. So I had a hash here when I entered the other router, other VyOS, because I had typed configure, and show interfaces showed up a little bit different. This is quite a nice view. So this is almost like show IP and brief on a Cisco device. So if I go configure, I can hit tab, and then we've got the hash here, so that shows we're in like global configuration mode equivalent, but it's basically just configuring. So show interfaces, here we go. So it's got our MAC addresses, and we haven't got any IP addresses assigned just yet. So as I said earlier, what I'm going to do is just use our course notes here. So if you can't see that, I might try see if I can zoom in a bit more. View, view. I know. If I pull that out, and then we'll lose that bar. Okay, and then I can plan B. Should lose that bar, and then maybe gain a little bit of extra room there. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is that's a little bit bigger now, bit of change of ratio, but at least you can sort of see it clearer. So starting on the left, we've already talked about the links previous, username, password, and I've already installed the image. So when you download the ISO, you'll extract it or attach it to the virtual machines, as I've sort of explained within lesson 1, I think, or 3, as the virtualization lesson. So now all we're going to do is work our way down. So we're going to set the host name. So we're in configuration. So we type configure already. So now we go set host name. Oh, set system host name. So, oh yeah. So we're currently on there. Line 539. Cool. So set host name, and we can set it to, at least I'm going to be forgiving to the name. So we can see we've changed the name there, but it's not set it. So I've still got to commit and save before the prompt will change. So I'm gonna do that now. just to prove that I can commit without shouting letters. Commit, save, and so our prompt is there, but if I go show system, our host name is lab B. So if I just Z out of that and reboot, just want to see it take place. Let's just restart guest. Let's see this. I want to see it take place, basically. So we're just restarting KMV image, and hopefully we should see a new prompt appear. Normally it's the same case within other Linux distros. When you change the host name, it takes a reboot for it to fully kick in to the actual command line interface. So we've already done show interfaces, and then what we're going to do is start configuring the interfaces. So these are actually the correct IP addresses for what we want to set. So Ethernet 2 and Ethernet 3. It's always good to add descriptions in, like you can do with Cisco. Oh, look, there you go. So LAN B VyOS, the happy days. So VyOS, and I'm switching typing that because it's the default and not good for security. So I'm going to add a user in, and then you can almost delete the root user, but I'll do that at the end of the video. And actually, at the minute, there's no notes for that in here, but luckily I've done it before, so we can do that together. So show interfaces. We can see there only the loopback, but it's good to confirm we have got Ethernet 2 and Ethernet 3. So it might be 0 and 1, it might be 5 and 6. So we're working with what we've got, so you have to adjust the commands accordingly. So the Ethernet bit doesn't change, but this ETH2 and ETH3 does. So configure, and if you notice, I'm shortening all my commands. So set interface, and let's have a little look what's available. So I can just do question mark, and it shows me here. So I can work with loopbacks. So I can set a loopback, I can set tunnel, so that'll be a GRE tunnel. PPPoE, so that's point-to-point over Ethernet. So that's using layer 2 protocols over a layer 3 sort of tunneling protocol. Dummy Ethernet, bonding bridges, a lot of things that I've not used. So wireless WAN modems, there's a lot. Cool. So even layer 2 TPV, so that's the layer 2 tunneling protocol on version 3, so that's quite secure. So that you can create open VPN connections with this, and its capabilities, as I said, are quite vast, but we're going to keep it basic at the minute. So Ethernet, ETH2, address, and 192. Oh, is this right? 192.168. So I'm trusting in with the commands here, but I'm just going to quickly double check our diagram. So Ethernet 2, ooh, naughty, is 25.25.25.2. And actually, have I done, so I click VM settings. I've not even changed this. It's shocking, absolutely shocking. So I better change this. So what I've not noticed is, I said I was going to do it. I didn't change the interface. I didn't change what logical switches they're attached to. So if I just click custom and then select what LAN I want them to, so I want Ethernet 2 is 25.25.25.2, so that's WAN, so it's going on VMnet 10. Cool. And that one, custom VMnet 11. Let's double check. VMnet 11, 192.168.200.254. So actually, and that's connection to LAN, so I better change these notes around. You might notice my additional plugins for Chrome, but hold on. 2 for the WAN, 3 for the LAN. Cool. So that's if you wanted to set up the sort of same exercises I'm doing using the same diagram. Cool. So press OK on that, and that'll take a little minute to kick in. And then what we want to do is set our IP addresses. So we said Ethernet 2 is our WAN connection, 25.25.25.2/30. So subnet mask of 255.255.255.252, block size of 4, 2 usable IP addresses, perfect for our WAN connection. And just a little sort of thing when you do see diagrams like this, so it is a serial connection standardly, that's what it's saying, but because it's like a thunderbolt, it's saying it's going through cloud, so there could be thousands of routers in between all the internet, so it'd either be a cloud or a thunderbolt connection you see, which simulates numerous router connections between these. So it's a standard, not just point to point, but for this we're using just a single point to point. Cool. Right, so we've set that and set description, so we can press up previously and description. So that's connection to WAN. Oh, it didn't like that, and I think it needs to be in. Whoop. Yep, needs to have speech marks next to it, and that's why it's good to do notes while you're practicing, because your notes will ultimately then, if it drops out, you can correct it. So we've set that one. So let's do number 3, and it's good to go back over, but it's make sure before I hit enter the command's correct. Cool, so that's Ethernet 3, address 192.168.200.254/24. So the previous interface should be /30. I can't scroll back up, but I can sort of go back up through commands. I can verify the previous Ethernet 2 was 30. So I'm going to do description again, connection to LAN B. And it's very good to have descriptions, especially when you're playing with multiple interfaces. So we've got that. If I go show interfaces now, that's it set up. Ethernet 2 for our WAN, Ethernet 3 for our LAN, MAC addresses there. I've not done full commit yet, and I might do commit now just to prove that the Kali box can talk to this VyOS. So commit. You don't always have to do commit and save, but if just in case we have a power outage, not that my laptop's battery is its own UPS effectively, so it shouldn't happen. But if I quickly go to the LAN B Kali box and IPA, I confirm 192.168.200.1, and I go ping 192.168.200.254, and if this doesn't work, I'd have to troubleshoot, and that's the sort of even better when you have to troubleshoot. That's what you learn from. But we're getting our pings back. So TTL of 64, which is the standard TTL for Linux distro, which is good. But also, as we're going through, you can see that it won't stop until I press Control C or Control Z just to stop that process. So at the minute, we're contacting from the client, .1, we're contacting .254, which is our default gateway. And what I'm going to do is let's try ping straight to the other end. 100.254, so that's the default gateway, not working. So that's LAN A default gateway, and that's LAN A client. So I'm going to leave it running in the background. I'm going to see that drop in, and we'll be able to scroll up to see when it actually dropped in. So here we go. Back to the VyOS. Good stuff. So we can ping our default gateway. We're good. We're taking it incrementally and troubleshooting as necessary. So our virtual switch is working, and now we're going to prove that this is where it gets nervous, having a one device, 2 interfaces with 2 virtual switches, 2 virtual LANs effectively, so it's connecting. So if I go, we've set up our connection to the other side, to the WAN, because we set up our IP address, but we haven't set up OSPF. So let's set up our OSPF and get that working. So we've set up our interfaces and we've proven it, and we've done show interfaces. It's always good to do show interface after as well, just to check. So set protocol, OSPF area 0 is the backbone network. Cool. Set protocol, protocols, you can, I might add the S into here, but at the end of the day, when you're typing this, you're probably going to be tabbing your way through it. OSPF, and I'm just going to show you question mark here. So there's loads of stuff we can add in. OSPF area, auto cost, we can change the interfaces, we can do, and actually what we can do, if I just do question mark here, there's a lot more protocols than just OSPF we can set up. We can do RIP, we can do RIP-NG, which is RIP IP version 6. We can do OSPF v3, which is OSPF version 6, which is IPv6 for OSPF. MPLS, which is multi-layered protocol switching, which is like using layer 2 and 3 together. BGP, so we can set up for the internet. Loads of stuff we can set up. We can set up statics, and we've already done that on Cisco, and statics are boring. They're not. They're very useful and very good for security, but the fact is we're setting up OSPF here. Cool. So OSPF area 0, network, and we advertise what we want to, so we've advertised what we've got. So it's almost like, this is what I've got, this is what I'm willing to sell. Okay, so we're going 192.168.200.0/24, and if we only wanted to tell that we've got the .1 IP address, we could do 1/32. So that's saying all our bits are in use, but we're only going to tell you this one IP address. It's either or, really. I'm going to give the 0 a go first. So we can always say, if we do a wrong command and we go, oh no, I'm not happy with that, so I'm going to commit that and show protocol. We can see our OSPF is here, but if I go, oh no, I've put the wrong network address in, we can go unset or delete. So if we want to unset something, we go delete and then commit and show protocols. Our OSPF is now gone. Happy days. So our previous network address was in there, but let's add it back in. It was just to show you how to negate something, whereas in Cisco it's no, shut. In this it's sort of delete. So you're deleting that line in the config file. And loosely around it, this is all based on JSON files. So that's why it looks like that. So it's JSON YAML sort of works within that region. So it's quite a flexible program it's using for the networking in the background. Cool, so we set it, and we're just going to commit that, not committee, just to show you that we need to advertise the WAN link as well. So if I go back to my Kali, so we're not pinging yet. So if we were pinging, that would drop pretty much quite quickly in. We've got to advertise our WAN, so effectively both VyOSes have to be saying our WAN link is a route as well. So that's why we've got 2 WAN advertisements here. A lot of people sort of say, I wouldn't really advertise the WAN link, but because you're connected to it, they both advertise it, and then that's how they communicate with each other. Cool, so let's go for area 0, and it all resides in area 0 at the minute. Oh, no. And the minute I hit commit, I'm just going to change over, and hopefully that should drop in. Might take a little minute before they start communicating, because they've got to send hello messages every sort of, I think they send them every 1 second, and then, oh, there we go. So the hello message is being passed. They've formed adjacencies with each other like we did on Packet Tracer, but this is still digital, but this is using VMs. Cool. So effectively our Kali boxes are talking end to end. What we want to do now is take that static IP address away from the Kali box and then allocate it to DHCP. So I'm going to leave this running. I hate not using command line, but just to keep it simple and just to keep it simple, I don't even know how to change it through the GUI. Network. Okay, cool. All right, let's just change it through to DHCP. So manual delete. It makes me shudder, me having to. The only reason why I'm doing this is just because I don't want to start talking about changing IP addresses on Linux boxes just yet. So what we've done is set it to DHCP. If I just IPA, so we can restart the service. I'm just going to reboot this, and then we'll see the Kali box boot up, and then the ping will fail because it should have an APIPA, which is a failure of DHCP server or unallocated DHCP IP address. It will start with a 169.254. Cool. Kali, because that's the default credentials for Kali. There's a thing going on here, isn't there? And then we're off. IPA. And there isn't one. If I do the old school IF config, Ethernet 0. No. So only Windows applies the APIPA. I would have thought that would as well, but it must be a Windows that are in. No. APIPA is a Windows technology, so it's a Microsoft technology. Not really employed by Linux that much, but it is a very good tool that is employed so you can provide fundamental communication. So if everyone's got an APIPA, then they can still talk. Okay, so there's a few networking techniques that you can almost flip an APIPA so it can still have internal communications. It's very weird, but it's not done often. But it's a Windows technology. That's why we're not seeing it within Linux. That's why. Something just in the back of my head, we're sending alarm bells up. So we haven't got an IP address on ETH0, but we're going to set up this DHCP config on our VyOS LAN B, and we're going to give it a name for almost the DHCP pool as LAN B, and then the entire range. And we're going to not start it at 1 because we've already used 1. What we're going to do is start it at 10. Cool. I'm not worried about stopping it, but then we're going to almost do an IF config release renew or reboot it, and then it should be allocated a DHCP address. And to show that, it's show services DHCP server. Cool. Let's get back onto our VyOS. So we're still within that config mode. We haven't saved our configuration, but our Kali box hasn't got an IP address. So what we're going to do is set up DHCP. So set, and we've got loads of things we can set: policies, protocols, system traffic policies. So that's almost like QoS, firewalls, high availability. That's having multiple or clustered. This is definitely for digital and VM and high availability stuff. So set up service DHCP, and we can do DHCP server, DHCP v6 server. So DHCP IPv6 is not that difficult. I'm quite happy to do a video on IPv6. I think I described it quite well within the subnetting video towards the back end of it. DHCP Relay is because DHCP is predominantly a unicast message, so it's from 1 to 1, and within it will stop at a point of a router, but you basically DHCP Relay changes the unicast message of a client coming up and turning on going hello, the discover phase. It then changes it to a multicast address, gets past the router, and you're telling the router to set where to send it to get it back and get an IP address. It's really clever. Love DHCP Relay. And the process of DHCP is DORA, discover, offer, DORA, request and acknowledge. That's it. Oh, respond, acknowledge. Cool. Right. DHCP server. I thought I'd just do a quick crash course in DHCP. Share name. So this is equivalent of the DHCP pool in Windows. LAN B, and then subnet. As I said, these commands, not necessarily going to have to remember them. There's quite a few that you can retain. It's quite similar to Cisco, but I'm going to keep them on this GitHub repository, which the links are everywhere at the minute. So at the bottom of each video, stuff like that. Cool. 192.168.200.0/24. I'm just going to hit enter on that, and I'm just going to hit enter on the actual LAN name as well, just to give it in there. Oh, it already exists. Cool. So we've created it in steps. So if we do default router, so that's our the default gateway for our LAN. So we own that. So that's 192.168.200.254. Cool. And then name server. So I'm just going to move this over just so you can see the back end of everything. Name server, which is the DNS server. We haven't got one within this, but it's quite easy to set up. This is a DNS server, or free IPA box, which is another open source version, or you can set up your Linux box. You can point. Should we do it? What I'm going to do is set up. I'm going to go a bit mental here, I think, and just say 100.1. And then I'm going to change the DHCP. I'm going to change effectively the host file within the first Kali box, the LAN A Kali box, to the DHCP server as it, and then add this entry in. So hopefully it might even resolve. We'll see what happens. So if I go 100.1, I know it's sort of, oh no. So this one is the default router 192. I've already done default router, so this is name server, countdown Tom. Name server 192.168. And we said 100.1, so I'm going to set that as the client A, LAN A client. Domain name, always good to have, especially when you do on Windows. You can do IP config all, and you can see the domain name pop up. So it's always good to have it very similar to your domain name within Windows, for example. So if I do domain-name and b.lan, that's probably going to, oh, that accepts it. I would have thought you would have had to have speech marks in, but see what already exists. So either or, you can have it or not. So I've got lease, so we're setting up lease, and I've gone for 86400, so that's 864,000 seconds. That's 1 day effectively. So default DHCP is usually 7, but now we're going for 86400 seconds. I'm just going to show you, if a question mark, if you ever get stuck within command, just question mark it. So it's effectively, we've gone lease and we go, oh, I don't know what the next bit is. It says literally there, DHCP lease time in seconds. So instead of doing the rest of the video, you could sort of do this yourself, really. And then range, just going to show you what other options are available for DHCP. So we've got description of the pool, domain search, enable failover, so that's having a secondary pool or DNS server, DHCP server, IP forward, NTP, so you can set the NTP via DHCP, which is cool. POP server, so for your POP3s, for your email servers. SNMP server, it's telling it where to send SMTP messages to. Cool, right, Q on that, and range. This bit is the DHCP leased range text, so this is what it's called. So I'm just going to go first block. So if you've got multiple blocks, you can have, like, if you're using some IP addresses in the middle and they're already part of the infrastructure and you want to set out a couple of leases, you can have first block, second block, but obviously make it applicable. Then start, and then question mark, and then it's just the first IPv4 address from the pool, 192.168.200.10. And I'm not worried about finish, so I'm just going to commit that. You can put stop. Ooh. Start and that's gonna right. Hold on. Let's do stop. There's me trying to go rogue. So for the range first block, start and stop addresses must be defined. It is user interface. So 192.168.200.100. Doesn't let you get away with anything, this, does it? Save. Brilliant. So we've got that saved now, and what I'm going to do is kick in the DHCP for the Kali Linux box A. Oh, look at that. Already, so Kali must have been desperate for an IP address. Gimme. I don't know if that's the voice of Kali, but it turns out it is, and 200.10, and I'm really impressed with that. That's just dropped straight in, and I'm just going to prove we can ping to the other end quickly. So let's go ping, and we're using DHCP IP address and pinging all the way through. That's cool. I need to stop getting overexcited about these things. And then BIOS all the way through. Show service DHCP, and we've got start stop server name, so that's everything we set up there, and because we're setting it up, it's basically already in that. It was a little bit dangerous having that attached, to be honest, because it could have been allocated the first, but rather than we said no 10, so it could have been allocated an IP address before we set that start point as 10, so it could have ended up with dot 1, sorry, 200.1 or 200.2 effectively. Cool, right, we're there. Let's take this one step further, because we've set up the DNS IP address as 100.1. What I'm going to do is change the etc hosts file on that Kali box to add in the LAN A Kali, and it's going to ping itself, really. Let's see if this works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just a case of some bonus material, I suppose. And obviously, yeah, I know you're all thanking me for it. So it's all good. So back on LAN A Kali, if I just go ls, and I'm on as Kali, so it's not going to let me change it. This is, if you've not touched Linux much before, welcome to the 15 seconds crash course. This is just bonus material. If you don't want to see it, you can disconnect now or stop viewing now, but this is just a quick look into the DNS setup on an Ubuntu or Linux box. So ls etc hosts file, so it's hosts, so the host name is where the host name stored, full enough, and hosts is where all the DNS is stored. Host allow and host deny is a little bit of a firewall config. So if I go there, if I do long list, LL is equivalent of ls-la on etc hosts, and I'm not going to be able to change it because it's going to say root. So root owns it, and root's group is the only people allowed to edit it. But if I do sudo, then right, ignore what's happening now. Vim etc host. So Vim is a text editor. Okay, so put in that, and you can see I've used this box previously on a previous hack to the box. I'm just going to take that out. So now we're adding in, we can see here we've got local 127.0.0.1 is localhost, Kali is 1.1, which is interesting, but I'm just going to add in, delete that, and 192.68.1, and it was 200.10, wasn't it? Because that was our IP address. And I'm going to go LAN B Kali. Cool. If I escape that, then colon, right, quit. Don't worry, with the Linux video, I'm going to do a top-up video on Vim or Vi and the lovely world. And actually, I prefer it to Nano because it's a little bit cleaner. Nano's an additional text editor. There are GUI versions, but within the command line, these are quite easy to use. So go back to LAN-B Kali, and if I do ping LAN-B Kali, temporary failure, name resolution. Set the DNS IP addresses through ping. So that's there. This is just a little bit of troubleshooting now, so I might need to actually Google is it LAN-B Kali? Did I definitely set it up as LAN-B Kali? LAN-A Kali. Let's go back to that. ECT hosts LAN-B Kali. Cool. 200.10. Right, quit. Just going to reboot this. Maybe the DNS feature of it might kick in. Hopefully. If not, we'll troubleshoot our way through it, but this is just bonus material now anyway. Cool. So we have ultimately achieved the aim. We've pinged across. I do want to add a user in, so before I go much further, I'm going to go back to my LAN-B VyOS and add a user, set password, and then log in with that user. So then we're not using the VyOS files, which is the default root or administrator account. So let's see if it's pinging. If not, I'll move on. We'll just set the user first. But ooh. So it's sending it across. It's requesting. Does anyone know what LAN-B Kali is? Oh, no. I will find this out and I'll add it onto the video. But in the meantime, I just want to make sure we achieve the learning for the video. So we are going to add a little bit extra here. Adding an admin user. Cool. So and I say admin because we can have generic users, and within even Cisco there's like different levels of access, and you can allocate different commands. So we can say, oh, you're a user that can only do show IP and brief, for example. So in Cisco, so we can do pretty much the same with VyOS, but I'm just going to add an admin user right now. So if I do set system and user, should be cool. So looking at set system and the question mark, we see here normally, because it's within the system, should be user in different versions, but we've got here is set user login configuration. So it's set system login. So I'm used to a previous version, I think. Login, then question mark our way through it. So what we want to set up radius. Do we want to set up a banner for the users when they log in, or user? So we set up the user account. Then it'll be username. So we've already got VyOS, or we can set up the local user's credentials. So I'm just going to go user in capitals, and then authentication, and we can do plain text password or encrypted. So I'll do plain text just to see it. I know it's naughty, but plain text password. Then what is the password? Capital P. Oh, it didn't do it. So set system login. user, then username, plain text, authentication, plain text. This is American keyboard, so hold on, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, question mark that bit, and then enter. Cool. So we should be able to set the level of, I'm just going to go back in, set system, login, user, full name, home directory. Normally you can select the level of authentication the person's got, or the user. Authentication, one-time password, nope. No, public key. Okay, so that's my user setup. Commit, save, and reboot, just to prove it. Oh, can't exit, can't reboot. Don't want to save. Yes, I've already saved it, but I'll resave. So here we should be able to log in as user and have access to the same commands. Remember, it was capital user, password 1 to 8. Why not? So I'm just going to add the notes in here. Set system user, and it was set system login user, and it was username, authentication, we want encrypted, always use encrypted, ENCRYPT, I'll hit tab there, and password there. Cool. Show system to check, and then commit and save. Brill. So I'm running as user. Brill. So if I go up the levels and show system, obviously our user is going to be in there. Hopefully with it. Did I say encrypted? Good. I thought I said plain text, but we can see there encrypted password 1 to 8. I wonder if that's breakable. You can see it differs from I wonder what the $6 stands for, but anyway, so cool. Thanks very much for watching. We've been configuring a VyOS for interfaces, host name, OSPF, and DHCP, and we've added a user as well. I'm going to make sure these notes are updated and saved, just to prove to you now. I'm going to save them, and away we go. So those are available online right now, and then this video is going to be uploaded in a few moments. Thanks very much for watching.